Hey everyone, welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm Robert Durden, and I did an episode recently where I was talking about the shooter in Boulder, Colorado, and how I get pissed off when the first question that anyone asks whenever there's a mass shooting is the race or the ethnicity of the shooter, as if they're like looking for the other. And when you see people do this, the vast majority of people that immediately go to this on any mass shooting are white people. And I was arguing that, like, it's silly that that's the first question you asked in something like the Boulder shooting, because the guy just like went into a supermarket and kind of opened fire. He wasn't like targeting some place where he would go after a certain minority, or where he would kill a bunch of kids, or where he'd kill a bunch of women. There was no like pattern to the victimology. He just wanted to go into a public place and kill as many people as possible. But it is relevant when you have a shooting that there's like a type to, or some sort of pattern in the victims. Like Dylan Roof killed all black people in that church. Like Robert Aaron Long, who earlier last week went through Atlanta, Georgia on a killing spree to a bunch of spas staffed by Asian women. So that's when it's relevant. But of course, as soon as something like this happens, like all these shootings, these people, these identity politics driven, and people that are looking for the other to scapegoat, or to say, to use as an example to say, hey, look, I told you it was the Muslims with the guns is always the problem, or it's always the black people with the guns that's always the problem. I argue it's the guns that are the problem, but I'm gonna drop to your level. I don't usually do this. I'm gonna argue the way you're arguing and destroy you with your own identity politics driven crap. So I did some research, and as it turns out, of the 116 mass shootings that have happened in the United States since 1982, now a mass shooting is, in this instance, classified as in a public place that has more than 4 victims. So that's what constitutes a mass shooting. And there's been 116 of those since 1982. And of those, 54% have been white people. And then there's a massive drop-off. It's like 22% for African Americans, 10% for Latinos. I have the numbers here somewhere. And then I also found that there is one other correlation if you guys want to do identity politics stuff, and if you want to run with the idea that this is, in fact, a pattern that is linked to an ethnicity or a sex, is that, as it turns out, 116 mass shootings, only 3 of them were committed by women. So 98% have been men. But you guys don't want to talk about that. No one wants to talk about that in the neoliberal stratosphere of conversation. They don't want to have that conversation because it implicates whites and males as normally the people that actually do the mass shootings. But I didn't want to have that conversation. I mean, I am a white male, but I am an empiricist. I'm data driven. I don't confirm my bias. I work with data and work my way forward like a normal human being does. So if you guys want to talk about who's actually doing most of the mass shootings, it's largely white people, way more than 50%, and also it's predominantly males. So, and this is something that backs up what I was talking about, I think, to Ian, not on the show, but I talked to him off air, and I was talking about how I think that the United States does have a gun problem, but the root of the gun problem is really like an immaturity issue, and the fact that American culture tends to deify and champion war, but beyond that, they glorify it in such an a weird way. Like, they Hollywoodize and make violence seem awesome. Like, a lot of the heroes that you see in film between the 50s and today, and really up until recently, have been like Western stars like Clint Eastwood, Rambo, Schwarzenegger. All of the biggest stars have been just like these in these war movies, and before that even I can't even remember like some of the old actors in war movies, but there's been a lot of championing of this in our culture, and you grow up, idolizing these types of figures, and the people that largely end up falling prey to this type of issue is white males. They see guns as being something heroic. They see it as something almost moral, and it's also tied to nationalism. A lot of these people that are gun nuts are easily duped into thinking they're defending their country against something that's not trying to attack their country, like the Middle East. So they stockpile guns for an invisible foe because they've been told on Fox News that it exists, and they're too uneducated to realize they're being propagandized. So American culture is really the problem. But since we can't change American culture quickly, we have to institute laws. Like, if I thought there was a good way for us to change the way that 80% of American males, particularly white males, think, and the way that they do idolize these ridiculous heroes in our culture that shouldn't even really be heroes, I would love to hear anybody's ideas on that, but it'll take generations to change minds like that. That takes years and years of pressure and good education, actually accurately pointing out the racism and the issues that we have in this country instead of watering down our history. But we can pass laws right now that take guns out of the hands of some of these people instead. So yeah, ideologically, I do think that we need a culture change. I wish we didn't champion guns. I wish that we weren't the only culture on the planet that really does this the same way. But that's just the way we are, unfortunately. So I think we should just instead be pragmatic and try to pass common sense gun reform. I'm leaning towards a mandatory gun buyback. I've seen some more evidence out there, and I used to be for a non-mandatory gun buyback, but I may be changing my mind in the future. We'll have to see. If you have any ideas on that, post them in the comments below. I will try to do one more episode tonight, but I'm not really sure. I've been out doing yard work all day, so I'm kind of whooped. So keep fighting the good fight out there, guys. I'll see you later.